The rumor mill has been filled with, well, rumors about an impending refresh of NVIDIA's 4000 series cards in the form of the Super lineup, similar to what we got with the 2000 series. And I think that that's a key here that I think people are missing as to why NVIDIA is rehashing the Super variants now. It's cyclical and predatory, and you can also blame TSMC for it. Having said that, are any of these supposed Super variants worth buying, assuming the leaks are accurate? Let's dig in. Today's video is sponsored by urcdkeys.com. If you want to activate your Windows, you can pay Microsoft $100 or more for a Windows 10 Pro key, or you can get one from an OEM seller like URCD Keys, who have partnered with Cortex for a discount on what is already a really low price, for a total of just $15 when you use my code. The keys work globally, and you can even use them to upgrade to Windows 11. After you've made your purchase, you will find your key in your purchased orders on the URCD Keys website. Click on Get Keys and copy the key. Then in Windows, click on Start and type Activate, and then click Activation Settings. Then click Change Product Key, paste your key you just purchased, and click Next. That's it. Windows is activated. If you want Office 2021 Professional, you can use the same C25 code and get it for just under $84. URCD Keys is running an 11/11 sale to celebrate Singles Day. That's right, so there are a ton of discounts over on their website. A huge thanks to URCD Keys for sponsoring today's video. Check the links in the description to get your cheap OEM Windows key today. NVIDIA has already confirmed the GeForce Event at CES 2024 on January 8th, so a day before CES officially starts. You can expect everyone's favorite Thai man, this time maybe with a Thai Super even, to announce 3 new GPUs from NVIDIA: the 4070 Super, 4070 Ti Super, yes, and the 4080 Super. To further legitimize these rumors, AMD has already dropped the price on the 7900 GRE in anticipation of NVIDIA's refresh, and I would expect further price cuts, as we'll see in a minute. So as far as the rumored specs are concerned, the 4070 Super features 7168 CUDA cores compared to the 5888 on the regular 4070, but it's just shy of the 4070 Ti's 7680 CUDA cores. This is that card Jensen wanted to paddle as a 4080 12GB, if you remember. Speaking of which, Jensen was so mad that he couldn't trick people into thinking a 104 card was an 80 class that he's now launching the 4070 Ti Super, a ridiculous name just to get back at you peasants. This one will presumably be a cut down 103 die, although I'm not too sure about that, with 8448 CUDA cores and 16 gigs of G6X. And finally, the 4080 Super, which I think will be the biggest disappointment here, with a full 103 die and 10,240 CUDA cores compared to 9,728 CUDA cores on the regular 4080. So in terms of percentages, in theory, we get this. The 4080 Super is 5.2% faster than the 4080, with the same amount of VRAM and power draw. The 4070 Ti Super Duper is exactly 10% faster than the 4070 Ti, with an extra 4GB of VRAM, which also means extra bandwidth, and the same power draw. The 4070 Super is a cool 21% faster than the 4070, with the same amount of VRAM, but also drawing an extra 20 watts. Not that that's too concerning on a desktop GPU. While we all know that the amount of CUDA cores doesn't necessarily correlate to performance, we can get a rough idea of what the improvements are here. And honestly, the 4070 Super is the only one that I would say is worthy of attention. The 4080 Super looks dead in the water unless it comes at a significant discount over the regular 4080. It should match the 7900 XTX as far as performance is concerned, and the 7900 XTX is currently selling for $950, while the regular 4080 is at $1,200 still. If NVIDIA launches the 4080 Super at $1,000, that will force AMD to drop the price on the XTX even further, probably down to at least $900. We already know that gamers are willing to pay a premium for NVIDIA's features and historically better drivers. Will NVIDIA go that low though? though I doubt it. I think the 4080 Super will cost $1,200 still. The 4070 Ti Super will match the 7900 XT in terms of performance. The cheapest 4070 Ti is currently around $780, which is the same that the 7900 XT is selling for. Interestingly, we're seeing the 7900 GRE selling for roughly $650 now, although in Italy only. That leads me to think that perhaps NVidia Super launch is not replacing the existing lineup but will coexist with it, which would mean a big price restructure. Perhaps AMD is already anticipating that and is trying to fit their cards in with NVIDIA's incoming launches. More importantly, it would point to AMD expecting the 4070 Super to be coming in at a higher price than the 4070, so it's positioning the 7900 GRE as an alternative. If that's the case, I think AMD got it wrong, but it could be that this discount has nothing to do with NVIDIA's upcoming announcements. And finally, the 4070 Super will perform roughly around the 3090, so the 4070 Super will be about 12% faster than the 7800 XT and only about 10 to 13% slower than the 7900 XT. Considering the regular 4070 currently sells for around $530, if the 4070 Super launches at, say, $550, it will absolutely obliterate AMD's mid-range offerings and leave Team Red with a tough nut to crack. AMD would have to discount the 7900 GRE by a further $100 and every other GPU from the 7700 XT up by $200 to have a chance of enticing gamers. There goes AMD's margins, if there were any. This is of course good news for gamers looking to upgrade, although if the recent past is any indication, AMD might just not care and just match NVIDIA price for price. We'll see. Now, one thing I think is worth noting is that we've entered sort of a TikTok situation here with GPUs. And I don't mean TikTok as in the social network for NPCs, I mean the TikTok cadence similar to what Intel had a few years ago with their CPUs. So every tick we will see a die shrink, while every tock we will see a refresh with more memory and full dies. It's not quite the same model because NVIDIA Super cards don't have any changes to the microarchitecture. These happen alongside the node shrink, but it's an analogy that kind of works to illustrate the fact that prices of new bleeding edge nodes at TSMC have become so high that the cost equation doesn't work if NVIDIA and AMD are to maintain their margins. There's also the issue of wafer availability. Currently, a 5nm wafer on which the 4000 series are made costs $13,400, with the large 102 die selling at $1,600 MSRP to the consumer at a roughly 70% profit margin. If NVIDIA were to launch a new generation of cards next year on 3nm, they would have to pay $19,150 per wafer, which means that to maintain their profit margin, they would have to increase prices by a whopping 40%, assuming the same yield. And that doesn't account for the $1 billion it would cost to tape out a new chip. So a 5090 next year would cost at a minimum $2,240 to the consumer for NVIDIA to maintain margins. And if you saw my video on the performance estimates for the 5090, you'll see that it would be a very tough sell to existing 4090 users, seeing as there will likely be a small performance increase given the CMOS potential of 3nm TSMC. Go watch that video for more details on that. And you can forget about 2nm for Blackwell, as TSMC is going to be charging $24,570 per wafer in 2025, so that would be an increase of 83% in cost for NVIDIA, which is simply not sustainable. So I think this TikTok model is here to stay, and every other generation will be seeing a refresh after a couple of years rather than a node shrink. That means there will be realistically almost 4 years in between each new proper generation. You can use that information to plan your upgrades going forward. This is what you call the tail end of an S-curve, where the market is struggling to sustain itself with marginal performance improvements. And that means that sooner or later a paradigm shift will have to happen, as that's always been the case with technological innovation. And Cortex is the place to get your bird's eye view on the semiconductor industry. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my continued analysis. Thanks for watching, and until the next one.